Hello everyone. Welcome back to the online class. This is Manish Yadav, your English teacher. Today we are going to start a new chapter from the book of First Flight. This is ninth chapter of your book in second term. This is the second chapter of second term. First chapter of second term was Glimpses of India that we have completed successfully. Today, we'll start this chapter and its explanation line by line. Hope you all are fine at home during this epidemic period of time. Winter vacation is going on. Optimistically, we can uh, see that the government is going to open the schools from Monday onwards. So be positive and optimistic. Uh, and staying at home, we have to study as well as management of works at home, familiar issues, and so many things. So today I'm going to explain this chapter. This chapter revolves around a little girl whose name was Wally. Okay, so let's start what happens in the story. There was a girl named Waliamai who was called Wali for short. She was 8 years old and very curious about things. Her favorite pastime was standing in front of doorway of her house, watching what was happening in the street outside. There was no playmates of her own age on her street, and this was about all she had to do. There was a girl whose name was Waliamai. Shortly, we can say Wali. She was 8 years old. Her age was 8 years, and she was very curious, keen, you can say, interested about things. Her favorite pastime was standing in front doorway of her house. Okay, how did she pass her time? She stood in front doorway of her house, watching what was happening in the street outside. Means what is going on outside in the street. It was a best way to pass her time. There was no playmates of her own age on our street. She had no playmate, at the same age, and it was all about what she was doing or she had to do. Means she had nothing to do but standing in front a doorway of her house and watching things outside in the street. This is the first paragraph. But for Wali, standing at the front door was very every bit as enjoyable as any of the elaborate games other children played. Watching the street gave her many new, unusual experience. Okay, but for Wali, standing at the door was every beat, every moment as enjoyable as any of the elaborate games. Means standing at the door and watching the things was more interesting, more enjoying for Wali than the other elaborate games other children played. Watching the street, when she was standing at the door, she was watching the street, and it gave her many new unusual experiences which she cannot expect for. जिस चीज को उस लड़की को उम्मीद नहीं थी, मीन्स शी कुड लर्न एंड गेन मोर एंड मोर इंफॉर्मेशंस. ओके, एज पर द एक्सपीरियंस, अनुभव की बात करें तो बहुत ही अनुभव मिलता स्ट्रीट में खड़े होकर देखते रहना, चीज़ों को देखते रहना, क्या नई चीज़ें हो रही हैं. मीन्स ये जो तरीका था उसका टाइम वेस्ट करने का, टाइम पास करने का, वेस्ट नहीं कह सकते, टाइम पास करने का, इट वॉज मोर इंटरेस्टिंग than the other way of playing games. और जो गेम्स होती थी बहुत ही अच्छी अच्छी जो अदर बच्चे खेलते थे, उससे बेहतर तरीका था इसका टाइम पास करने का. नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन सेकेंड पेज ऑफ दिस चैप्टर. The most fascinating thing of all was the bus that traveled between her village and the nearest town. It passed through her street each hour, once going to the town and once coming back to the village. The sight of the bus filled each time with a new set of passengers was a source of unending joy for Wally. Now, how did she stand? What did she watch? And she observed? Let's talk about it. The most fascinating thing, the most interesting thing, attracting thing of all was the bus. Okay, that traveled between her village and the nearest town. The bus, which was traveling from her village to the nearest town, was passing through her street each hour, once going to the town and once coming back to village. The sight of the bus filled each time with a new set of passengers. Definitely, there will be different passengers coming and going in each trip. Same passengers will not be there in the bus. So it was a great part. Okay, it was another great part of bus, traveling bus, which gave her lots of joy, unending joy for Wally. ये जो तरीका था उसका कि एक बस जो कि उसके गांव से शहर तक जाती थी, और ये सबसे अट्रैक्टिंग वे था उस बच्ची के लिए. उसको बहुत ही पसंद था उस बस को देखना. उसके गांव से शहर को जाती थी और ये लगभग 1 घंटे में, 1.5 घंटे में एक दो बार आती थी. एक बार आना, एक बार जाना. एंड ईच टाइम इट वॉज फिल्ड विद न्यू एंड डिफरेंट पैसेंजर्स. और हर बार अलग अलग पैसेंजर्स थे. और ये जो सोर्स था अनएंडिंग जॉय, ओके, जो खत्म कभी न खत्म होने वाला जॉय उसको दे रहा था. किसको? वल्ली को, उस बच्ची को. डे आफ्टर डे, प्रत्येक दिन शी वॉच्ड द बस, वो बस को देखती रहती थी. एंड ग्रेजुअली अ टीनी विश crept into her head and grew there. Day after day, every day, she watched the bus, and gradually, slowly, a teeny wish crept into her mind. What was the wish? She wanted to ride on that bus. वो लड़की उस बस में राइड करना चाहती थी, सफर करना चाहती थी. इवन इफ जस्ट वंस, एक ही बार सही. दिस विश बिकेम स्ट्रांगर and stronger until it was an overwhelming desire. And this wish became eventually an overwhelming desire for Diwali. I mean Wali, not Diwali. We cannot add any definite article before a proper noun. Wali, you can say the girl. Now, Wali would stare wistfully at the people who got on or off the bus when it stopped at the street corner. लॉन्जिंगली, यू कैन से. लॉन्जिंग मीन्स होता है किसी चीज की गुहार करते हुए, रिक्वेस्टफुली, यू कैन से बेगिंग फॉर, मांगना. ऐसा लग रहा था जैसे वो चाह रही थी कि प्लीज लेट हर राइड ऑन द बस. ओके, लेट हर राइड इन द बस. बस में उसको भी राइड करने दिया जाए. एंड द वे शी लुक्ड एट द पैसेंजर्स व्हेन द बस स्टॉप्ड, जब बस रुकती थी, she watched very carefully the passengers who were coming and going, you can say, who were riding on the bus, and who were you can say got off and got on. जो चढ़ते थे और जो उतरते थे, उन सभी लोगों को वली ध्यान से देखती थी. And their faces would kindle in her longing and dreams and hopes. Shed a light of fire her feelings. Okay, kindle, their faces would kindle in her longings. Or it was, uphealing the desire of Wali. Means uski जो डिजायर थी उसको अपहील करना. इट वॉज सेटिंग फायर, आग लगाना कह सकते हैं. ठीक है, टू हर डिजायर. उसकी डिजायर में, उसकी लॉन्गिंग में और भी फायर देने का काम कर रही थी। क्या? पैसेंजर्स के चेहरे। If one of her friends happened to ride the bus and tried to describe the sights of the town to her, Wally would be too jealous to listen and would shout in English, proud, proud. Okay, now what happens next? If one of her friends happened to ride, if anybody, one of his friend, not his friend, her friend, ride on the bus and they describe the sights of town to Wali, Wali would be too jealous to listen that. Wali did not feel better to listen them. She abused using English words. Proud, proud means she doesn't feel better while listening them. Now, neither she nor her friends really understood the meaning of the word. Neither, न तो वो बच्ची उस वर्ड्स का मतलब जानती थी, प्राउड प्राउड। इट सीम्स टू वली दैट शी इज अब्यूजिंग इन इंग्लिश। ओके, ऐसा लगता था वली को कि वो गाली दे रही है। बट नीदर शी nor her friends really understood the meaning of that word, but they used it often as a slang expression of disapproval. Means slang means होता है informal words often used within a close group, जो कि अनौपचारिक कह सकते हैं, ठीक है, जो कि ग्रुप में या फ्रेंड सर्कल में ऑफन यूज होता रहता है, ऐसे वर्ड्स ही थे वो। डिसअप्रूवल मींस व्हेन समबडी इज नॉट एग्री विद अ कंडीशन और एनीथिंग एल्स, सो दे कैन यूज सच वर्ड्स विद देम। नाउ ओवर मेनी डेज and months, Wally listened carefully the conversations between her neighbors and people who regularly used the bus. Wally was very curious to listen the conversations of those people who had, uh, you can say, taken a ride on the bus, and she also used to ask a few discreet questions here and there. And she also used to put careful questions to know more and more about the town and bus. She was very fond of riding. This way, she picked up various small details about the bus journey, and by putting up questions to the neighbors, she was able to collect useful informations about the bus journey. The town was 6 miles away from the village, and the distance from our village to town was 6 miles. The fare was 30 paise one way. एक तरफ का जो फेयर था, जो किराया था, वो 30 पैसे था, which is almost nothing at all, जो कि कुछ नहीं था. She heard one well-dressed man say, but to Wally, who scarcely saw that much money. For 1 month to the next, it seemed a fortune. The trip to the town took 45 minutes, and the distance was coverable within how many minutes? 45 minutes. On reaching town, if she stayed in her seat and paid another 30 paces, she could return home on the same bus. Means she had known everything, how to write and how to come back, by paying what, how much, कितना देना पड़ेगा, ये सारा कुछ, the distance from her village to town and the time which was being taken to cover the distance and coming back as well. So she was well known to everything about the bus journey. This meant that she could take 1 o'clock afternoon bus and reach town at 1:45 and be back home by about 20:40, no 2:45. Means the baby, the girl was only desiring to ride on the bus. Okay, उसका जो इच्छा था, उसकी जो उत्सुकता थी, वो सिर्फ इतनी थी कि वो बस पे राइड करे, ठीक है, बस पे सवारी करे, बाकी कुछ नहीं. दैट शील स्टे इन द टाउन एंड शील बी वॉन्डरिंग हियर एंड देयर, शील बी मार्केटिंग, शील बी परचेजिंग थिंग्स, शील बी ईटिंग, आई मीन नो विजिटेशन, किसी भी तरह का अदर वेजिटेशन के बारे में वो नहीं सोच रही थी, सिर्फ और सिर्फ उसको राइड करना था, इसी में वो मस्त थी, ठीक है. So I hope it's clear to everyone. Now, on and on went her thoughts as she calculated and recalculated, planned and replanned. It happens. with a little child. When the child is so curious to do something, they think most of the time they could not get off from such contemplations. वो लगातार उस विचार के बारे में सोचते रहते हैं, उन विचारों से वो दूर ही नहीं हो पाते. एंड ग्रेजुअली दे बिकम रिजोल्यूट एंड डिटरमिन्ड to do so. They plan it, they think it, they calculate it, they recalculate it, then they replan it. Plan it means ये करते करते फाइनली वो बच्चे वो काम कर ही लेते हैं. ठीक है, ऐसा देखने को मिलता है. तो today we discussed first and second page of this chapter. Now let you see the third page of this chapter. Yes, this is third page of this chapter, and we have successfully completed the explanation of first part. Now you could see oral comprehension check. What was Wali's favorite pastime? The favorite pastime of Wali was to stand in front doorway of her house and watch what happens in the crowd. And most of the times he was standing and watching the bus. Now, what was the source of unending joy for Wali? What was her strongest desire? Now, the source of unending joy for Wali was to see a traveling bus which was going from her village to town, and the distance from her village to town was a few miles, whatever the number of miles have been given in the chapter. And it took 45 minutes from there. And the strongest desire of Wali to ride once on the bus. Now, what did Wali find out about the bus journey? How did she find out these details? She was very curious to listen her neighbors and those people who rode on the bus and who had a traveling journey on the bus. She usually tries to collect more and more informations about the time, rent, fare, and the moment when she'll get off and take off from the bus, everything. Now, what do you think Wali was planning to do? Wali was planning to calculate the fare and the time she was managing, the amount of fare which is to be paid as fare, and she was trying to make a ride on the bus. Okay, so that's it for the explanation of this first part of the chapter. Now we'll start second part of this chapter tomorrow in the next lecture video. That's it. Have a nice day.